All right, it says we're live. Can you hear us, chat? Refresh the page. All right, it looks like we're live. And hello, who we got? We've got 4 watching now. I see Carl, Amateurs Hour, Eve La Renaissance. I'm going to send out another tweet. Oh, hi, everyone. #1 Marmaduke fan here. And today I have got our friend, Mistah Mahvel, with us. We're going to be talking art, the state of the comics industry, his favorite comics, and of course, the amazing Juanpool. I am so excited for this. So, Mr. Mahvel, you want to say hi?
Hey, Mistah Mahvel here, guys. Because I know you. I should say that. That's my catchphrase. I gotta stick with it.
And he's got a YouTube. He's got a Patreon. He's got Twitter. All of that is linked in the description below. So you can go subscribe to him. Go click the bell for notifications. You've done some drawing videos. You've done a few comic reviews. And your Patreon is going to be a way that people can support the creation of Juanpool comics. Is that right?
Yeah. Right now it's pretty much like a dead page because I'm going through the steps of teaching myself how to use it. Because I don't know anything about that stuff. I actually would love to set it up so that it's beneficial for other creators. You know what I mean? I would love to keep that hashtag of creators supporting creators going. I would love to set up my Patreon as a way for creators to get art from me for their books. You know what I mean? And keep me going. You know, some maybe even where I set up the reward, something like you know, depending on the tier, it entitles you to like concepts from me this month. You know what I mean? If you need concepts drawn for your comic, you know, the characters are going to be in this, you know, supporting a certain tier would get you that kind of service. Maybe not that exactly, but something around that. I got to sit and talk with a couple people, bounce off some ideas on what's best, but hopefully by the end of the month, it's an actual page that runs. So if no one wants to go there now, I actually agree. There's, you know what I mean? Because there's nothing to get back. So I don't, you know what I mean? I don't really want that yet until I can give something back. So I feel right.
Right. You're hoping to reach the point where you're going to be actively contributing with your art to other comic projects on Comics Twitter and Comics YouTube. And so
exactly.
Patreon's still in develop mode, but it exists for now as you're kind of like teaching yourself some of these tools and some of the opportunities we have to use the internet for this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, so I've told the story. I was, you know, triggered by SJW Art School. I find Diversity in Comics channel and I snatch up the name #1 Marmaduke fan. So tell us a little bit about your introduction to comics Twitter and the comics YouTube world.
All right. So I don't know. I want to say not last summer, but the summer before, like a couple summers ago, or maybe even last summer, but about a year ago. I kind of did like a full switch over where I started watching YouTube instead of TV. You know, I was getting everything that I needed from YouTube. I was just literally just your regular dude. Like I tattoo, but I was your regular guy. You know, I was dad, you know, get up, go to work, come home, pay bills, do what you got to do. And I'd watch YouTube, and it mostly had to do with political stuff. But eventually, I saw a video where it was this like random white dude with glasses, takes off his glasses, puts on a black Scully cap, some dookie shades, and he just rips up this chick that was talking smack about comic book fans. You know, and I start following links, you know, this thumbnail or that thumbnail, and that's when I landed on Diversity in Comics. By the way, that first video was Captain Cummins. I'm sure you could go back to his page and find it. He rips down. It was like maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
Real funny one because he went like all hood. He went straight like hood Wu-Tang on her, and it was awesome. It was classic. Yeah, I mean that's the best way to get introduced to Captain Cummins. But I started watching, you know, Diversity in Comics stuff, and one, I realized this guy knows his stuff. You know what I mean? This guy knows his comics. He knows his stuff. And he started like kind of jogging my memory. Because at this point, I hadn't bought a comic, read a comic in a long time. Maybe even like at that point, like good 10, 15 years. And I remember the only time I did, unfortunately, I picked up the Civil War. And if you haven't read comics in a long time and you read the first Civil War, it gets to you and you're like, yeah, I don't want it to have anything to do with this. I personally hate hero versus hero stories unless it leads to the heroes growing a common respect, learning teamwork, and beating the villain. I know that's cheesy, that's corny, that's old fashioned, but to me, that's what makes a great hero versus hero. It should never end with a hero like, I mean, it just went so dark for me that I was like, you know what I mean? That's not what I want to read. Not out of Marvel, at least. You know what I mean? There's other series, there's other books that I don't mind the dark stuff, but for Marvel, I didn't want to see it, so I got back out of it. As I'm learning all these things, and I'm watching Diversity Comics, and I'm watching Captain Comes, and I'm starting to watch some of the other bigger comics YouTubers. It came to my attention that Captain America said "Hail Hydra" in a printed comic, and it was canon. And I don't know, like, it made my eye twitch. Because it was like, why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? There's no reason. Why would you do that? If you don't like the president, shouldn't it be a book where Captain America punched out Trump instead? Shouldn't he still be the hero?
Right.
You know what I mean? Shouldn't he still be the hero? Shouldn't you take the iconic him punching Hitler and put in Trump? I mean, that at the very least, the image would have sold T-shirts all around. Brand new renaissance for the character as a leftist, but nonetheless, he wouldn't have been a villain. You still could have worked with him in the future. There wouldn't have been the smudge. Then you learn about One More Day, and you're like, what is happening? And then the Hulk isn't Bruce Banner, and oh my God, look at Miss Marvel. And I had a meltdown. And for the first time in a long time, I picked up a pencil and I started drawing comic book art again. And I drew up a couple of covers. Like, I pretty much did like a redo over of existing Miss Marvel covers to give her more of a Captain Marvel themed costume, but to keep her bodacious. You know what I mean? And you can go to my DeviantArt. It's one of the first images I threw up on Twitter. Fun fact, though, no one cared, but that's because I didn't know anybody and I didn't know how to use Twitter. But
took a little time to just start interacting with people and getting to know who was who.
Right. And I mean, at this point, I wasn't Mistah Mahvel. You know what I mean? And as I kept drawing, I kept watching YouTube videos and, getting on Twitter here and there. And we all know the famous story. Eventually, Captain Cummins started doing his Mima Sundays. Sunday, bloody Sunday. And it was one of my favorite days of the week because you got to see all the fun, cool artwork. And here I am. I'm drawing comic book stuff again. And I've always been a bit of a braggart. And I'm like, well, I'm not too shabby. Maybe he'll like what I throw at him. And it was Juanpool week. Or something surrounding Juanpool. Maybe even when it was the whole milkshake meltdown, whatever. But I designed Juanpool for the first time. And I was really looking to hit as many diversity boxes on purpose so I can throw it in Marvel's face and say, no, this is diversity. If you really cared, if your mission was diversity, you wouldn't have picked another cute little white chick. You would have this overweight, Hispanic, bisexual, just jolly guy. And I drew up Juanpool, but I was so out of practice, and back then it was like pencils, then I had to hand ink something, then I had to scan it in and use Photoshop. And I mean, I was still using a mouse to do things in Photoshop. That's how under prepared for this stuff I was. Because at this point, I only use Photoshop to lay out lettering and stuff for tattoos. You know what I mean? When I wanted to curve letters and stuff like that, or extract a picture from something else. You know what I mean? I wasn't actually trying, you know, to create art.
Right.
And unfortunately,
you had experience using these tools, but you had started drawing. And I've even seen the picture on your Twitter. You found your original, looked like you drew it on like 8.5 by 11, you know, printer paper, and and you kind of like teared up finding that drawing again, because that was the start of something. So you're on fire drawing. You're drawing from your tattooing experience, and you're starting to add these things together and figure these things out for the first time. So.
Absolutely. And you know, I finished Juanpool late. I didn't get it into the contest, unfortunately. I actually tried to submit a couple other things to him, but I didn't know how to use Twitter. And I only made it to, I only exist on Twitter because I wanted to enter Captain Cummings' meme contest. You know, and it makes me chuckle because I believe I'm a couple years older than him. And I'm like, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, I'm really going out of my way to get this guy to put my art on his channel.
Yeah.
And for nothing more than to see it and go, hey, when I see it. You know what I mean? And then put in the comments, hey, you use my art. You know what I mean?
Right. It's nice for someone you watch and who you appreciate to recognize what you're working on. So you're getting introduced to the tools you need to share your ideas almost by accident. Like you need a Twitter to share a meme, and you get a Twitter. But then you've got a character, and you weren't even able to get this character into the meme contest originally. So tell us a little bit about what happened with Juanpool after you missed the deadline. Did it just like percolate in the back of your head for a while? What happened with Juanpool?
I ended up posting him anyways right when I finished. And I was like, now this is what diversity looks like, or something like that. I have all the screenshots because, you know, I'm actually putting together a nice Juanpool introduction video. That's why I haven't really posted anything lately, because all the time I spend towards making a video is for him. And anybody that is sub to me, they know that I do like the high production. You know what I mean? I want to challenge when they say that, you know, we need better content. All right, so I put a lot of effort. I usually put a good almost 12 hours into producing all the art and everything, and the editing and the dialogue per video. That's why I had to calm down from, like, I used to do them weekly, and now it's like, all right, well, whenever I get an idea, I just kind of throw something on.
Makes sense. And as an artist, you've also got to focus on making, you know, you got to nail Juanpool's look, and you got to I've seen, you know, you looks like you use sort of red pencil or red digital drawing to sketch out the ideas of it, and then you're a full package deal. You draw it, you ink it, you color it, you letter it. So you're committing a lot of time to making this comic that, you know, that's time you can't spend doing, you know, for YouTube videos a day. Maybe a little shade at our boy Zach, but you are committing time to making this project come to life. And tell us a little bit about what Juanpool means. Why does Juanpool kick ass?
Juanpool, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why people love him. I don't know what he brought out in people. I don't know what they saw in him. When I see Juanpool, I see some of myself. And I'll state first and foremost, he's absolutely not even semi-autobiographical. You know what I mean? I'm way different, but I don't even look anything like him. But I see kind of the story of a guy that gets forgotten because he stuck to his old way for too long. And now he has to rebuild himself using basically the tools of the internet. You know what I mean? At his disposal. You know what I mean? As you read Juanpool, hopefully you pick up on the sense of it has a lot of commentary on online behavior and how we use online connectivity to not just connect, but destroy each other. You know what I mean? It's become a scary tool where you can, I mean, me, for example, last June I was a nobody. You know, I'm not saying I'm a somebody now, but 800 people usually cheer on just about anything I say. You know what I mean? And not mindlessly, but we agree, and that was said funny. You know what I mean? So it's a world. My life is actually so different now that every so often I gotta stop and catch up to what I'm building myself to be, because I'm not always even comfortable with it sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially, everyone knows my mouth can get me in trouble on Twitter, because I approach Twitter like I walked into a room somewhere in Boston, and anybody that comes out their mouth, I'm gonna come back out. And I'm learning now that, you know, this isn't a battlefield I'll ever win in, because they own all the goalposts. This isn't just home turf. They own everything here. They own the referee. They own the ball. They get the right to change the lines. You know what I mean? So I just kind of shut up and decided if I'm gonna do anything, it has to be after I publish something. Because they'll always say, well, what have you done? Good point.
You've been knocked out by this feedback, and I can identify with this myself. You're an artist, you do all this work, you share all this work, and sometimes it just feels like lightning has to strike for people to start resonating with anything you do. So you've now created the identity, the username of Mistah Mahvel. You're sharing this art, and people are clicking with it, and that's like the fire that tells you to go with it. If people like this, I'm going to go with it. And you're seeing your creation of this comic art as something that's bigger than just getting roasting people on Twitter. It's a longer term good thing you can do if you can make a good comic which says what you want to say beyond just a political tweet about it.
Right. Like, I want to be able to speak back to creators that talk down to our community as a creator myself. You know what I mean? Because they're going to say, what did you do? Bro, have you even seen? Bro, do you even Juanpool? You know what I mean? Like, bro, go check me out. Go see what I did. What did you do? You know what I mean? A lot of these artists and creators right now, they one man, they're one contribution. You know, I don't ever use names over live chat. I don't believe in that. I don't like to bring smearing to nothing. You know what I mean? I'll go toe to toe with you on Twitter if you really want it. But anybody who I would smear has me blocked anyway, so I never have to interact with them. You know, they're always coming with their one thing. You're gonna have that one writer who all they've ever done is write something. And I'm not tearing down being a writer, but my point would be, all right, cool, you wrote something, but you didn't draw it, you didn't ink it, you didn't panel it, you didn't letter it, you didn't put in special effects. You know what I mean?
There's a sense amongst comics pros that they're irreplaceable, that like they're the great god kings of the art. And when you think about it, unless you
I just took out 5 of y'all. I just took out 5 of y'all, dog. What are you going to do? That's my mentality. That's what I want with Juanpool. I just took out 5 of you, dog. And I'll work harder than you because I need this. I ain't y'all. I ain't buying stupidities, posting my stupidities online. I need this. I'm a dad. You know, I have a life. I have a family. You know, regardless the status of my family or whatever it is, I have a family and I have responsibility. I need this. You know, I already work 70 hours a week. This is nothing. Let me just do this. Oh, what? If I could just do this for my job, I'd get rid of all of them. And not because I'm like superior in any one of those, but I'll do it all. I'll put out my book on my own. I've only been working on Juanpool a total of maybe 2 months from the concept of writing it. And I air quote writing it because I don't really write. I do like a series of box panels with descriptions. And then I take those box panels, bring them to the page, decide which ones stay, which ones go. And that's where I'll panel out my page to give it whatever look I'm looking for, because I usually follow I follow the golden ratio whenever I panel.
Huh?
So there's certain like visual, like focal points on the page, and that's how I panel, so that I grab them, but also keep interesting. You know, every page has like a different layout, or like I try to do a couple little layouts before I'll reuse another one, just because it's most convenient to narrative. And I've learned a lot. And what I'm the most proud is Juanpool is the first comic I've ever made. I've never made a comic. I've never made a comic ever. You know?
Your writing process is the art process. You start drawing and you start figuring out. You have an idea in your box panels of what's going to happen, but as you are drawing, you are figuring out the flow and the feel of the story, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And luckily for me, this is on its surface, it's a comedy. So I can wing it. I can wing a good amount of dialogue when it's a funny Mexican guy with an accent. You know what I mean? And some of the deeper dialogue points, I just kind of, so I'm kind of working with someone too that like kind of beefs my whatever I would write. Like basically, I have someone who acts as like almost like a thesaurus / editor, just to strengthen what I'm doing. But for the most part, it's usually straight up me, because he don't touch comedy. You know what I mean? And I respect that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing my first comic ever, and I'm bringing it right to everybody's face. You know what I mean? He's big. He's gay. His suit makes you look in his direction. You know, he's fun. He's fun.
Right. And earlier you said, you know, you couldn't even believe why people are clicking with Juanpool. And I think I'm one who just the idea of Juanpool, something clicked for me. So maybe I can be like your, I don't know, hypothetical fan of Juanpool.
Please.
Yeah. So what I think it is it's actually like it's appealing on multiple levels. So kind of level one is it's a solid joke at the expense of, you know, Deadpool, Gwenpool, everything. You know, everyone's a pool. There are probably like what 5 or 6 Deadpool books at any given time. Mm-hmm. So we have a flood of Deadpool stuff, and you have just taken the word pool, almost sort of like how, you know, people say Eric Larson probably just watched the movie Deadpool and just grabbed the word because he thought it sounded cool. You've taken that name, but you've made something that's completely different. When you look at this character, he is big, he's over the top, he is visually memorable. He's a little creepy, you know, like if you saw him in real life, you'd be kind of freaked out. But he is friendly and he is funny. The Squirrel Girl comic, I've had this debate with people that if you're going to go for comedy as your major appeal, the drawing itself should be funny. The character should look jovial and alive. So even in just your very first drawing that you did, you know, he's got that emphatic gesture. He's pointing up. He's looking chipper. He's looking ready to go, and he's got he's got all this cool weaponry. So I think the third appeal is that this looks like a character who, even though he's comedic, he looks like he could do some damage in an action comic. So everything about his design is promising comedic adventure. And I think the comedy books at Marvel have just fallen so short of that promise. They think that comedy is kind of like millennial punny humor, but the humor that Juanpool promises is in the character himself. He looks like he will have misadventures and trouble and come through the other end of it. And I think that's sort of what it's what clicked with me, and I imagine it's what has clicked with some people. And if you're in the chat and you've got some thoughts on what clicked for you about Juanpool, I'll be looking at that if you want to add something. So tell us a little bit about so let me think. You've talked a little bit about your process, and you know, this is your first comic, you're getting into the rush of creating it. So tell us a little bit about the character of Juanpool himself, maybe, you know, for people who are just being introduced to him. What makes Juanpool Juanpool?
Okay, so first and foremost, you have to set up his world so he makes sense. Juanpool lives in a fictional version of the United States of America. Almost to the exact, except it's a parody. You know what I mean? Like I've renamed things in a parody way, like even to the extent of the states of New England are just one state known as New England.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where the capital isn't Boston, it's Major City. You know what I mean? So the major city in this story is a city called Major City.
Okay.
Ha! Drum roll. You know what I mean? That's using the cheesiest type of parody, but that's stuff I'm really good at. You know what I mean? Hit them with that stuff so that when the reader sees it for the sound of Major City, that's stupid. That's what I want. I want someone to laugh it off like, yeah, that's not stupid. That's what I like to get out of people. So in this fictional version of America, mass superheroes exist. They're not a fantasy. They're, you know what I mean? They're not a made up thing. They actually exist. There's mass superheroes. So let's say basically, yes, Juanpool lives in a comic, but this isn't like the other pools where he's aware. No, he's part of the story. He's part of the narrative. You know what I mean? He's never going to break the fourth wall. I promise you. You know what I mean? Juanpool will not break the fourth wall. And it makes me sad because this is the kind of character that would benefit from every so often, like winking at the crowd, but it's been done. You know what I mean? It's been done. But in this fictional world where heroes exist, it's not like Watchmen where it led to the apocalypse or like, think more like the Incredibles. You know what I mean? So the heroes exist and that's it. And there's villains and they might fight and they might not. But I want them to be more comedic. So there's also resorts for superheroes and supervillain rehabilitation centers and, you know, so that you can see that they influence the world around them and that they're accepted part of society, even to the extent that, you know what I mean, this isn't a part in the book, but, you know, just to really nail it home, your average guy has a shot of getting a date with a female superhero. You know what I mean? If he, you know what I mean? The same way any average schlub can pull a hot chick if he's just lucky at the right time and compliments her in the right way. You know what I mean? Like, you have a shot at a female superhero because she'll probably snort and giggle and be like, huh, this is my number. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically a big parody world. It's one big parody world that also, in a way, is a serious world. You know what I mean? There's still crime. There's still danger. There's still an urgency. Not all heroes are goofy. You know what I mean? There's a good amount of serious villains. And as you read the story, you'll find out that, you know, there's a much bigger antagonist. You know what I mean? That over the course of, I plan this out as a 3-part arc. You know what I mean? And you'll see by the last part. You know what I mean? Who the antagonist? You know what I mean? How everything goes down. By the way, and all this is already outlined out. This is all rough outlined out. This isn't even a part where I'd be like, oh man, now I have to write issue. No, this is already in set. To move on. Because I overpaneled when I was planning this thing. But in this world, you know, like heroes are real. Comic books exist. They're more like tabloids. You know what I mean? So you'd go to a comic book shop, pick up a comic on your favorite hero, but it's more a collection of that month's news clips, you know, articles, things that let the reader like kind of patch together what they think what happened through like newspaper articles and pictures, and that's their stories that they read to enjoy. That's what those kind of geeks go to. You know what I mean? So where we would read completely fictional stories, they're reading a bunch of, you know, basically like gossip tabloids. You know what I mean? Following this police trail and this police report and da-da-da-da-da, we conclude that this is what the hero did. You know what I mean? And everybody's happy.
That's so they're literally nonfiction comic books, right? The kids are reading comic books, and these are trying to depict actual events that happen in the news.
Yes. Yes.
In contrast to something like Watchmen, where they say, oh, no kid reads superhero comics, they read pirate comics. You've actually come up with because that's like a clever spin on what would comic books be like in a literal comic book world with superheroes in it. It's sort of like the kids are reading the newspaper when they're reading when they're sneaking their comic book into class. That's actually current events homework.
Yeah. Basically. So now down to our hero. Our hero is a fella by the name of Juan Quintanilla. He is a geek, a nerd, and he's a YouTuber. It's not called YouTube. I still haven't come up with like a clever alternative, but for now he's a YouTuber. And he's a very popular YouTuber to the extent of he has 1 million followers. He has 1 million subs. You know what I mean? I'm sure you can pass, and that's not so impressive in certain things, but you know what I mean? For the sake of a story, a narrative, and in a cartoon, I have 1 million followers, you know what I mean? And they're loyal to him, they follow him through and through. You could almost even describe Juanpool as like the Hispanic Boogie, you know?
Yeah.
Except he's all about hero watching. He's the premier hero watcher. He has an online blog where, you know, he gives the inside scoop. He knows just about everything one can know about every public superhero. He knows the identities of a good amount of them just through backtracking. He has like a series and a network of, you know, like video documentaries where he talks about certain heroes, and you know what I mean? He's that guy. He is the keeper. I hate to use the word. He is a comic historian in his world. You know what I mean? But he has accurate stuff for the most part. Basically, if you're a superhero, Juanpool knows who you are. Unless you're a secret one or something so cosmic and big that he wouldn't know. Unless, of course, you've showed up on the Earth, then he knows all about you. You know what I mean? So he wouldn't know Galactus until Galactus showed up. Now he knows a whole rundown on Galactus. We're going to break it down today for you guys. We're going to go into what makes Galactus his planets. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is the voice. That's Juan's voice that I imagined in my head.
Yeah.
When he shouts.
You could almost do this in character as Juanpool. You could do like a sample Juanpool historical video on another character in his world.
Yeah, wink, wink. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I've already planned that. Wink, wink. But okay, he's the premier hero watcher. Anytime he live feeds, every single one of his subscribers stops what they're doing to watch what he's saying, because who knows what he's gonna say now. When right into the first page, we see that he's starting his stream, you know, and he does a couple of mentions on some stuff, including if nobody has seen it by yet now, it has been publicly mentioned. He references Regina from Rags' story, i.e., they exist together in this America.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And he also predicts that she will become a hero. You know what I mean? If you read the dialogue, he's predicting that she's going to be the one that rises up out of this, even though he doesn't mention her. You know what I mean? He doesn't know her at this point. He starts going into a stream and he starts telling everybody how he's so happy about his the re-return of his all-time favorite superhero, the superhero that patrols his neighborhood personally, Badger Babe. And Badger Babe is a parody, of course, of Squirrel Girl. Except, you know, I'm sure everybody by now has seen the two versions of her. At this point, he's referring to the smaller, feminine, pretty one. And as soon as he names her as Badger Babe, you know, he starts what will be known as the largest mass triggering. You know what I mean? He offends 1 million SJWs in one hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you read the story, you'll learn the repercussion of that. But as far as everybody has seen at this point, that leads to, you know, a huge breakdown in his computer where, you know, he's just shot at with energy that causes him to bump into, you know, his bookcase and fall over, and he's unconscious. And that's where that's where we've left him. You know, I've shown some teasers of where he goes next. But long story short, Juanpool gains access to all his online posts that he's ever made throughout his 1 million follower Hero Watcher subscription. He gets the ability to pull them from a hammer space and manifest them as a weapon. You know what I mean? So let's say the post was something to do with, went to lunch and had some seltzer water with a lemon. He has the potential to pull out one of the old-fashioned cartoon seltzer squirters. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So he can't really control you'll see him start to learn to control them, but for the most part, he kind of works on instinct of just grabbing something out from behind his back and hoping it's going to work. You know what I mean? Juanpool fights like a cartoon. You know what I mean? And I hope to emulate like the old Looney Tunes showdowns between like Bugs and Elmer, where Elmer never stood a chance because it was about Bugs constantly frustrating him and mocking him and then giving him surprise, like just one big pow hits out of the cut. You know what I mean? Let me dazzle. Let me confuse. Let me infuriate. Let me, you know what I mean? Let me get the upper hand. And when he can't take it anymore, pow, I hit him with something from behind my back.
Right. This isn't like a guy who's just like running around with guns shooting people. He has his power is comedic, fitting with how he looks. His origin story is this guy who's an expert in heroism, but he's not a hero yet. You're already touching on it a bit, but he kind of maybe not ruins his life, but he says something wrong by the perspective of some, and this is creating a big problem in his life for him. And then so these kind of like real life problems connect with the fantasy aspect that he can kind of weaponize the internet in a cartoon style.
Right. So basically, Juanpool means for attack, if that makes sense. His main form of attack is physical meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone messes with him, he throws a physical meme out to frustrate them. He is the greatest troll we'll ever see.
But he's also very killable, isn't he?
He is very squishy because he's 38. I haven't really decided a weight because I'm going to have to talk with some people because I guess I originally had him at 384, but I guess that's not heavy enough for a man that's 6'5". And his stat, of what I've drawn him to be. But let's just say he's like in the 400s. Mm-hmm. Big fat guy. He's a geek, a gamer. We can imagine, Mountain Dew, Doritos, takeout food. Yeah. You know what I mean? That kind of diet. I would say he's generally healthy. Like he doesn't have a disease, doesn't have anything wrong, but he's obese and he's a big fat guy. So he doesn't run far for very long. You know what I mean? He can't keep up in a fight for very long. So Juanpool has these huge hands. He's going to have to knock you out on the first hit. That's his only chance. Or at least punch you so hard that he gets to start doing his thing as you just kind of get your footing. I believe, to me, unless the person is so much smaller, I believe I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Juanpool always loses the physical fight.
Yeah.
Period. He always loses in the physical fight, except in 2 instances. One of them I won't mention yet because it's something I'm still working out. But we go into his most famous of weapons, his maracatanas. Which, there's a funny origin to them and how he gets them, but whenever he pulls them out, everybody kind of laughs. But now we bring back in his geek background. We're talking about a former laser sword dueler champion. Yeah, because I can't say lightsaber for copyright reasons. He because he likes but there are fictional stories of the Space Knights, you know what I mean? And the space opera, that would be this universe's equivalent of Star Wars. It's called space opera.
Okay.
And that's where there's the space knights and they use laser swords. And you've seen the video of the big fat kid with the lightsaber, right?
Yep.
All right, now superimpose Juan there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he goes buck wild when he has them and no one expects it. But he'll only pull it out if he knows for 100% he's not taking human life.
Uh-huh.
Because he's still that person. You know what I mean? Like, he's got those two big, huge revolvers called Madre y Padre, which means mother and father. Mm-hmm. So that I can always do that scene where he's behind the corner and kisses them and says, Madre y Padre, protect me. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I thought of when I named them. But they're 10-shot revolvers. So they're not like normal revolvers. They're 10-shot revolvers. They're fully restored replica Spaniard dueling pistols that are a paternal heirloom that he absolutely has to have because, oh my God, look at them. You know what I mean? Look at what I look like when I point this out at you, bro. You know what I mean? But he once again will only shoot if he absolutely has to and he knows he's not going to kill someone. They're mostly for show because they're really big. You know what I mean? And when he comes out around the corner with one of those things, and you know what I mean, and say hello to the bad guy. That's me. You know what I mean? You would be intimidated at first, especially because once we know he throws you off. His look is odd. Oh my goodness. Look at the size of that barrel. Go ahead, punk. Make my day.
This character so clearly exists in your mind. You're just speaking to me as an artist and a writer, because I'll talk about good writers and how they'll have these characters, and if they know what they're doing, it's like you can picture the character in your mind as Charles Dickens must have pictured it. They have a way of talking, they have a way of moving, they have a way of interacting, and as you kind of like characterize Juanpool, I can start to see him in these kinds of situations. And I think that you're really selling your work by just through your enthusiasm for it. And he's weak, and he has weaknesses. He's not an invincible,
Oh, he is no Mary Sue at all. I made sure that he's actually very killable, very expendable. He's gonna get out of this by sheer luck. He ain't gonna Mary Sue his way out. He's gonna be Baby Huey that just kind of like wandered away from something that just fell down next to him as he got away. He's a cartoon within a comic to make fun of SJW comics.
Yeah. But his appeal is such that, I don't see an SJW liking Juanpool because they're going to pick up what you're laying out there. But I can see people across a political spectrum resonating with this because this is a character with kind of like a real world connection. He uses YouTube. He plays video games. He's kind of a fat geek. He has real problems. He has real fears and real emotions. And I think this is going to keep resonating with people. It's resonated with people in sort of our subculture of comics. It's just so funny. It's so fun to share a picture of Juanpool. He is so memeable. But I think that quality will pick up beyond just anti-SJW Twitter or anti-SJW YouTube, because it sounds like you're telling a story that's not just a lecture. Oh, here's my character I've made up just to lecture you guys with my politics. You are creating a narrative.
Oh yeah, anything I put in political is and will be nuance, and it will be through artistic measures. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not a writer. My strength is art. I'm hoping this knocks your socks off visually. You know what I mean? And you excuse like the dialogue because it's what I mean. Hopefully, I get this the Todd McFarlane pass of the writing in Spawn #1 wasn't that great, but look at it, you know what I mean? Like I hope I can kind of get along enough that maybe I build Team Juanpool. You know what I mean? That I could expand this to like a team so that we could get a monthly book out. You know what I mean? I have no problem sharing this with people. Right now, it means a lot to me to do it completely by myself because, you know what I mean? There's still someone I have to prove this to. You know what I mean? And that's me. I need to prove to myself that I can go out there and do this all by myself without anyone, because I know I can.
I'm picking up that vibe. Yeah. And, you know, so I resonate with that, because when I think about comics I want to make, these are things I would want to make if no one ever paid me a dime to make them, because I want to bring this thing in my imagination into existence. I want to show it to people and say, this is something that means something to me, and I want to share it with you. But down the road, you're also cool with your creations. You know, if people want to work with you, you're cool telling other kinds of Juanpool stories, you know, like Juanpool crossover event. Now, you've shared this publicly, so I think it's cool to talk about. You've shared this picture of the source, which you say will be important in the Juanpool mythos and could kind of function as a place where Juanpool could theoretically meet, you know, like another creative person's character. Do you want to talk about the source a little bit?
All right. Now, the source, you know, I was actually advised by the guy that kind of helps me with stuff to go ahead and say it. The source is an allegory for the internet. It is a place that all thoughts will go. It's a pocket dimension that exists to harvest thoughts. The inhabitants harvest thoughts and enjoy very much dabbling in the thoughts of mortals and redoing thoughts the way they see fit. This is an allegory for the internet and what goes down. Even when you look at it visually, there's literally a highway bringing him there. You know what I mean? Oh, like an information super highway.
Yeah.
And you know, in this place, you'll constantly feel like a vibration. Visually, it'll always look different to everyone. We see the source right now as Juan sees it, so that he can understand it. Mm-hmm. I'll get more into the sources, more lore, but I just don't want to go deep into that part of it. But it's basically, it's his hammer space as well. Mm-hmm. This is where his posts exist. This is where all thoughts go. And when he enters the source, he actually becomes the only person to leave it on his own. You know what I mean? Without being taken out by the inhabitants of the source.
Okay.
And that's why he's able to pull out from it when he wants. You know what I mean? Even using the source, he has the ability to, like, short distance teleport by posting a selfie. Because now he exists in this world as a thought. He a little thought, y'all. And that gives him the ability to basically pull himself out of anywhere within 15 feet visually of where he's taken that picture. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, you can imagine it at first, him using it to just get out of a quick jam. You can see him intermediately using it to hop around and piss off his opponents. On the mastery level, you see him blurring around like Nightcrawler in the beginning of X2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to build his fighting as non-physical, so that he can actually sometimes really get the upper hand. Remember when I said in the physical fight he always loses? Well, when he starts using powers, it's different. Yep. You know what I mean? Now you contend with Juanpool, because now when he punches you, it's going to hurt bad, because he came out of nowhere, and he didn't have to run, he didn't do nothing. He literally poofed through the source. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And that's how I want to build him up, is using his powers as he realizes it. There's also another character that I've talked about, the Radical Nemesis. You actually see that she's the one contacting him in those first 5 panels, you know, basically letting him know, yo, you're messing up right now. She's a very key element. She's very important to this story because she acts as Barbara Gordon Oracle to Juan. You know what I mean? Her being another successful YouTuber, but, you know, more like the intelligent hacker prodigy. You know what I mean? and she acts as his guide eventually. You know what I mean? Eventually they learn to work as a team. She begins to be the one, she'll be the one that posts weapons to his timeline as he's fighting. You know what I mean? She'll be the one that, guides him on what to pull out of his back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, okay, so I'm a hacker. I know the whole layout of that building. Why don't you keep going left, buddy? No, left, buddy. Bud, please, just stay with me. Can you focus? But there's a light over there. Bud, no, don't go to the light. Ha ha, drum roll. You know what I mean? And that's how she's gonna interact. So Juanpool is gonna start to become a team. You know what I mean? You're not going to see him fight on his own, but they're also going to have that funny banter between themselves. She's also a 20-year-old woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're going to see the dynamics of that relationship, which, trust and assured, will never be more than, you know what I mean? I love this big fat man to death, and, no, this is my niece. I love her. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be there. There's never going to be you know what I mean? So just so that everyone knows. That'll be up to, people that like to do that kind of weird stuff. Now I kind of want to see people do that weird stuff. But that's up to them. I'm not going to advocate for it. I'll just appreciate it if I see it.
Go ahead and finish your thought, and then I want to call attention to some neat stuff in the chat.
Okay, so then I'll just wrap up the source real quick. We're going to see it a lot throughout his series, and it will eventually be a main focal point. And I'm hoping to meet interesting heroes through the source.
Fantastic. I'm just clicking with this because of his power set, because he could theoretically kick a lot of butt, but he could also have his butt kicked a lot. That makes him someone interesting to imagine pairing up with another character. Just some guy talked about this ages ago. When's the last time we had a debate about which superhero could beat up which superhero in a fight? And it's like comics have almost moved beyond that appeal of, oh, this character versus that character in a squabble. They'll have like superhero wars, but it won't be really like, oh, Spider-Man would use his powers against Iron Man strategically in this way. So I definitely see the potential for crossovers for Juanpool in the future. Samurai Raccoon actually is in our chat, and I think I've noticed that you've done some drawings of Samurai Raccoon's character. Am I remembering?
Yeah, I did Amelia. I did a picture of Amelia. I really loved her visually. And whenever I fall in love with something visually, I become obsessed with seeing it in my style. And that's usually the main driving point whenever I draw any kind of fan art of any independent creator. It's because I'll become obsessed with the visual design, and I have to get it out. You know what I mean? At that point, it's like, no, this is happening.
Yeah.
That's why I do the Let's Draw, because it's a really fun way to get that out of my system, meet new artists, and make new friends.
And Custom Songmaker has a comment I might like to hear in Juanpool's voice. He says, you got to have Juanpool eat a bunch of food every issue. And he always says, it's good, but mi abuela makes it better.
I don't know. That's pretty good, but my abuela makes it better.
I don't think anyone's ever cracked me up this much in my life.
But here's the thing. But that's not Juanpool's voice. That's Juan's voice. That's Juan's voice.
That's Juan's voice, but Juanpool.
Juan's voice. Juanpool speaks differently for this. You'll learn why he speaks differently, but he speaks differently. And here you go. You ready for this one? This is how Juanpool talks. And when he looks at you, he says, what are you going to do, cabrón? Pillo little bangs? And that's how he taunts people. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard to fight that guy at that point. Really hard.
You're clicking with what I'm missing about Spider-Man. I miss when Spider-Man would be taken seriously and people would hate him because he would kind of accurately make fun of them. He would get them upset to get in their heads. Now he just does like cringy jokes that make Spider-Man the butt of the joke. You know, Mysterio used to be the butt of the joke. Hey, fishbowl head, that kind of stuff. So Juanpool also has the opportunity to get in his opponent's head a bit with his dialogue and his personality.
Right. I mean, you'll even see, like, his speech bubble is different. You know what I mean? Juan has a regular speech bubble, but Juanpool has one with like a thick pink outline, border around it. You know what I mean? So you'll know when you'll know when he's talking like this and when he's talking like this. You know what I mean? You're gonna know. You'll be able to tell, and hopefully, since you've heard me say it out loud, forever you'll hear him speak like that when you see the different. Yeah, Marm, honestly, go back and read my first 5 pages now that you've heard me do the voice.
Yeah.
You're gonna love him. You're gonna love him.
It adds context. It adds context to it. I think about this a lot because when I imagine dialogue, I'll have a particular way it exists in my head. And how do you convey that with pictures? So, you go to the facial features, you go to maybe like the energy of the drawing, you find a way to convey that in the pictorial form. You have the advantage of YouTube to express some of this, and I'm guessing we'll get to see it conveyed visually too, since you're thinking artistically about how to represent these aspects. I'll see pictures of Juanpool holding up his controller, and he's just completely enthusiastic. I've seen this great someone in our chat mentioned it, but Juanpool versus Rags, Brian Ball mentioned it in our live chat to remind me of it. And he's got a lot of intense machismo in that one.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So Juanpool versus Rags, you've mentioned that Regina is mentioned as a character who exists in Juanpool's world. You've also interacted a lot with the Rags zombie team, and you've done just some crossover concepts of the characters with the potential that maybe in the future, you're still working on issue 1, but in the future we could potentially see Juanpool crossing over with Rag Zombie, which is another kind of like mini hit within independent comics and YouTube.
Yeah. I honestly, I love Rags. I would even say that he's one of the people I speak to a lot through DM. I actually speak to him quite frequently. We become very good friends in the last few months. I don't know. Sometimes I think he even said I was like an unofficial member of Team Rags, and I'll take that one. I'll accept that. I'll put that title up too. I love Regina as a character. You know what I mean? First and foremost, visually. You know what I mean? She's another one of she's there. You know what I mean? She's like 6'1". You see Regina. You feel Regina. You know what I mean? And I love her dynamic with Juan. Especially because she automatically takes the masculine role and he automatically takes the feminine role. And neither of them do it begrudgingly. They just fall into it. You know what I mean? They have that kind of bosom buddy type of relationship. I'd love to see him go into that series, if anything else, to learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, if Rags brings Juanpool into one of his issues, he better teach him how to shoot his pistol so that I can start doing that regularly. Not to mention, I like them as a team because I think Juanpool as a character has what it takes to calm down someone like Regina. You know what I mean? She suffers from PTSD really bad. She has, real bad fits of anger. And you know what I mean? She can lose herself sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like someone like Juanpool can bring her back off the edge. And I feel that she can make him just drop his nuts for once and go do something like a man. Yeah. I feel they're really good for each other. You know what I mean? As far as character development, they're an odd couple too, which I love. I mean, you can almost imagine them like at a bar, I might even draw it after this. And Mom remind me to draw it after this. Juanpool, he's got his head down in his arm, and he's got his finger in the air, and he's waving no. And in his face is Regina, and she's got a shot glass, and she's like, "Come on, JP, stop being a little girl. Yeah. I thought you were a tough hombre." You know what I mean? And they have that great dynamic that I would love to see explored more and really fleshed out. And I'm very excited for all the work that I do for the Rax team, and that I will continue and doing in the future. I love that series. I actually have two number one. I have two issue ones. I have the normal one, but I also I got a signed copy because I gotta like that. And I can't wait to see him do good things. And if he hears this or watches this or is there, I am absolutely not letting him retire. He's making comics great with me because I decided.
I think he's in our chat actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I'll add that I've now read issue 0 and issue 1 of Rags, and something I'm clicking with is that the character Regina, she just wants a pair of pants in the zombie apocalypse, and you can tell that she's a very killable character. She seems like she's pretty much normal human with professional combat training. So one of the most interesting things about seeing these characters created by different people together is similarities and differences. So she could identify with Juanpool on the basis that they're both, afraid of death. They don't want to die, but be different from Juanpool in that she doesn't have these magical superpowers, but she has a lot of combat experience that Juanpool just doesn't have. So then there's this contrast. They contribute to each other in a unique way. You and I have even talked a little bit about this behind the scenes. We can't get into all of it live yet, but you and I have talked a little bit about how our characters might interact and how this would bring things about them to the forefront that might not occur naturally to you just writing by yourself, because you have this opportunity for your character to bounce off of something different from themselves.
Right. Growth, real growth, which is something that's it's so gone from the industry that it hurts my feelings. There's no character growth. Everyone's flat. They just succeed. They're just there. The reason I gave Juanpool so many weaknesses is because, damn it, people deserve to see their heroes lose again. We need to get heroes to lose again so that they can rise again and become better. And then the character grows, and then there's history, then there's lore, then there's canon, then there's, continuity. And that's how you make a new universe. That's how you make characters great. And that's what I want to do. I want to start with a blank. What would be so fun about if issue number 1 started with Juanpool, already Juanpool? I'm sure I can make it funny, but it would have been lame. Sometimes you need to show an origin so that you can see. You needed to see Juan Quintanilla. You needed to understand that he's just a regular dude, so that you appreciate the growth in the character. So that the first time he hops out in the costume, you've already been waiting for this moment so long. So the first time he has to face the main antagonist of the series, you're worried. Has he prepared? You know what I mean? Let's hope there's not a touching goodbye scene right before, so you're already emotionally attached to this character. And that's what's missing. And that's what I want to bring back. And that's what I hopefully want to inspire. You know what I mean? I love seeing Juanpool fan art. I love it. And that's why I put extra effort into that reference sheet, so that anybody that wanted to do it, there, you got them. Because everyone draws this costume wrong every time, including me. You know what I mean? I fault no one, because even I drew his costume wrong every time. Which someone mentioned, oh man, I wish I could remember who mentioned it. But they were like, that should be a running gag. And it was like, the suit is significant. You know what I mean? You're learning where the suit come from, but it's significant. There's significance to the suit and why he wears it. And I'm thinking about, eventually redesigning it as he succeeds. By the way, he's a merc out of necessity. I'm not going to spoil why he's a merc, but Juanpool desperately needs to take on any odd, stupid job that any other superhero turns down just because of the sound of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those are the adventures I hope to do once I introduce his origin. You know what I mean? That's where I want to take this. This is going to be a story about, the last hero picked for the job. Right. You know what I mean?
There are concepts within concepts. So I've saw some people in chat saying, this is such a great pitch. You have a pitch for a character, you have a pitch for his origin, you have a pitch for his world, and then you have a pitch for his adventures. Because the idea of what are the jobs superheroes don't want to do, there's another concept there. You're on fire, and you are bringing concept after concept after concept into this world. And if one doesn't work, that's fine. Move on from that one, and you got 3 more concepts bouncing right back after it.
Right.
You're building something, and maybe I can get your perspective on this, because this would speak to you as an artist. But I think life experience has to be one of the most important things that writers and artists and comic people who do the art and the writing, they have to draw from that. If you don't know how high school girls talk, you can't write a convincing scene that way. You have this life experience, and I can already start to see some of it in Juanpool. You're coming into the internet. You're an artist. You're blown back by this positive feedback you're getting. Juanpool is someone who has sort of a mini career on the internet, and then this becomes like a superpower in his life. So the fantasy superpower of using the internet is almost a metaphor for how this not just the internet, but this connection with people can change the direction of your life, and that grounds the character in a way that people who don't have life experience, they don't get stuff like that. If the hardest thing that's ever happened to you is someone micro transgressed you in lesbian dance theory class, where are you going to get a story like that? You have to live it.
Exactly. And I mean, I've been around the block a few times. You know what I mean? I'm no spring chicken, and I don't know that. And dude, I'm a geek. I'm a nerd, and I'm not even like specific to one. I'm one of those, geek of all trades, and I also have an obsession with pop culture. So I know a lot. I've seen a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of shows. I've read a lot of books. I know a lot of references. I'm from a generation where that stuff was valued. You know what I mean? So like I even have concept of older styles of it. Like that last parody cover I put up of Juanpool kind of parodying the Dazzler cover. He's singing karaoke, obviously, because he's no superstar. If he's going to be on a stage, it's at a karaoke bar. That's how Juanpool hits. You know what I mean? If I'm going to make fun of you, I'm going to remind you, all right, well, screw you. You might be a superstar, but no one has more fun than Juanpool at a karaoke bar. And you can see in the background, the song that's on, I was thinking a lot of things. I was going to, I was thinking like, Britney Spears songs, and maybe Jennifer Lopez, Selena. I thought of Selena. And then I was like, in my head, it was like, yo soy un hombre sincero, de adonde crece la palma. And I was like, that's it. That's what Juanpool would pick to sing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring that. I got this just collection of stupid facts, and I finally get to use them. You know what I mean? He's like the perfect character for me to really just attack this industry with. I mean, I fight like him. I mean, I crap post on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I said I see a lot of myself in Juan. You know what I mean? I am very squishy on Twitter. I could get kicked off at any time. I can get banned. I've already been suspended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a Mary Sue. I don't always win. And when too many SJWs come in, I get shut down. You know what I mean? So I wanted to express that in the way that Juan fights. He memes out to his enemies, to his opponents. Isn't it a lot better to go to a pompous, stuck-up creator who keeps talking down to everybody and be like, shut up, I do it much better than you. Shut up, people like my stuff better than you. Shut up, stop talking to them like that. Shut up. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be out there doing the outrage. I plan on taking this and bringing to them and shut up, look what I did. Shut up, look what I did. And I didn't need no Kickstarter. I didn't need no nothing. I did this on my spare time. I did most of this in my car, sitting in my car, smoking cigarettes out the window. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got your fancy little studios, you got your little art degrees, you got your little pens that they're fancy looking, and you do your little frou-frou thing, and you let everybody know constantly online what you're doing. And I shut up and I just went to my car. I bought me a little tablet, I bought me an iPad Pro, and I went to town. And that's what I want to bring. You know what I mean? Superior. You know what I mean? Don't underestimate the guy with nothing. You know what I mean? Like, don't underestimate the collection of artistic techniques that I've collected. You know what I mean? In over 3 decades. of doing this. You know what I mean?
And if the industry is a political club, that kind of talent's going to keep getting ignored, because they're not going to look at you and say, here's a guy with passion and energy who can draw and who's just coming up with stuff. They're going to look at you and say, oh, here's someone who said something inappropriate on such and such date, tut, tut, tut. And I compare him to, the nanny that's, putting the naughty child in the corner. And they think they're that for everyone who wants to work on comics. And they need to be reminded that people can create without them. People have the opportunity to bring their stories to life without working at Marvel and DC.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong. Once upon a time, yeah, I would love to say that I worked for Marvel. Once upon a time, I would love to, you know what? Let me just be honest. Image. I love Image. My favorite comic is Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I got handed any book, any actual character, I'd want to take on Spawn. I would love a crack at Spawn. I would absolutely love Spawn. But I mean, it's getting to the point, sadly enough, like you can't fulfill those boyhood dreams. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even allow myself to get published by one of those big guys, even if they loved what I did. Dude, you guys are trash, and you're going to destroy what I did. And then steal my character. Obviously not Image, but you know what I mean? The other two, you're just going to take my stuff. Yeah. And that's something else, too, that I'm planning to bring right to their faces. You're doing your one aspect about a character that you didn't even make. You know what I mean? I've made Juanpool from the ground up.
Yeah.
I've completely fleshed his world. Like, he exists. Right now, not on paper or anything, but he's there. And he's my current project. You know what I mean? And I don't, you know what I mean? I just want them to know, like, you got to get ready, because, hopefully other guys that felt like me see what I did, and they're like, yo, all right, I'm all right then. That's going back to the classic days. Everyone hates the phrase, but with great power, great responsibility. I'm a kick butt artist, so I owe it to what I love to help make it great again. You know what I mean? And I think Juanpool can do it.
Fantastic. I want to ask you something about funding your work. So I've kind of made the decision that I'm going to finish my comic, and then I'm going to seek, publishing and funding opportunities, because I don't like the idea of asking people for a bunch of money to go work on a comic. And then I believe I would finish it but I just don't like the idea of asking people for money to make my comic before I go make my comic. And I kind of picked that up from what you were talking about. Would you be open to funding Juanpool down the road, like maybe to make a physical release of him or a special edition?
See what my initial plan is I'm gonna try and get it published digitally. I want to really try and pull that off this month. I'm gonna hope to try and do it. But also I always remember it may be hard, because I may get a pushback eventually from Marvel because of the likeness. But I assure you guys, a few switches to his costume, and I pass by a copy right there, and I actually already have the perfect name for him if I have to get rid of Pool.
All right.
You know what I mean? So everyone, rest assured, I'm one step ahead of them. I've already prepared for Juanpool that isn't a parody of Gwenpool visually. Nice. You know what I mean? It's already there. So don't worry, nothing can stop Juanpool, because the story itself is original.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everything about him screams satire, and the only connection I can see is the word pool in his name, even his power base, and the fact that he doesn't break the fourth wall. This is so fundamentally different character. The only way I could see that biting you is if people with an agenda said, "Oh, we're going to get Mistah Mahvel. This is our
no. That's what I'm planning for. That's what I'm planning for. But I know how to get around it. I actually already have DG. I have an ace up my sleeve, man. That's it. That's all. I already know how to get around it, and that's it. And everything else is so original, they can't say anything. Yep. And even then, you could bring up books like Barack Panther, which not only uses the likeness of the former president, but also the likeness of the character of Black Panther, and that made it by. You know what I mean? There's things to point to, and honestly, I believe I read, I did some reading up before I actually committed to this, because I absolutely said to myself, if there's any way I can get shut down, I'm not putting this work into it. I believe simply because I'm straight up saying, yeah, this is a parody of Gwenpool, that I'm protected. If I try to continue Gwenpool in the Marvel Universe and get it published, I will be sued. If I try to put Gwenpool into my story, I will get sued. If I try to put Juan into Marvel, I will get sued. But because I'm blatantly saying, yes, this is a parody of Gwenpool. Look over there. That's a parody of Batman. Look over there. That's a parody of Squirrel Girl. Look at this city. You know what I mean? It's a parody of Marvel New York. You know what I mean? I think I'm protected because I'm straight up telling them, yeah, I'm making fun of you. Kind of like Spaceballs. Like, you're protected. There are parody rights. You know what I mean? There are parody protections, and the fact that I'm not using any official name. Like, my web browsers have their own name. The sites have their own name. I don't have Twitter. I have Twipster. And you tweet out at people. I'm good. I'm good.
You've thought ahead, and that's really good.
Thought ahead. Well, I mean, I've been following this entire Save Comics movement for a long time now. I've been watching others. I don't know if everybody noticed, but the more I work on Juanpool, the less I'm calling out other creators. You know what I mean? I want to create an environment where I can just come out running. So by the time they notice I've done my thing, hopefully, you know what I mean, I've built up enough of a fan base that they're like, yo, piss off, Juanpool lives. You know what I mean? Hashtag Juanpool lives.
Yep. One of my teachers would call it creative concentration. And it's almost like you go into this space where the work comes first and the work has to push aside, the Twitter drama kind of thing. So I think you're in a good mental space to really knock something out of the park for us.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I've got some neat comments in the chat. I just want to call attention to the metal is inspired. He says, that one good thing for you is you can always take it to Comixology. If they try to shut down your Indiegogo, you can take it to Comixology. There's no stopping us from getting to read Juanpool's adventure if we want to read it. And he also says, preach, Mistah Mahvel. I'm right there with you, building from the ground up. Got to keep strong. You are speaking to people because... Oh, man,
I see a couple of hashtag Juanpool lives. Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, wow. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Oh, man. Wow, I'm starting to look through this chat. Wow, thank you guys. Wow, all right. Now my eyes got all teary. I don't know why, Marn, but lately I'm that emotional. Anything gets to me. I'm not used to everybody liking me like this. I'm not the popular kid. I'm kind of a prick. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody has realized by now Mistah Mahvel's kind of a jerk, but he's the friendly jerk you want around.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? I'm not used to people making a big deal out of me. So I'm still getting used to that because I'm a schlub. I'm just some schlub. You know what I mean? I answer every DM. I try to, at least. If I don't in a couple of days, it's because I can't think of the right thing to say. But I eventually like to get to everybody. I always make sure to go and compliment everybody's art because everybody's working really hard. I'm not the kind of jerk that says, oh, you don't draw to my level. I appreciate seeing all the levels of art that I see out there right now because I don't see different levels of art. I see different levels of success because every time people post stuff, it looks better and better and better. You know what I mean? And I believe that positive feedback is what we need. People need to know that, if they see me as a pro, they need to know that I believe in them too. You know what I mean? That it ain't a one-way street, that I'm a fan of their stuff, that I read their stuff. I try my best to get, to back up as many people I can. Unfortunately, that has to come to a hold because financially I just got to hold on to my money for a little bit now to, get things going on my end. But I try my hardest to make sure that I let everybody know that, I take notice, even when I'm not, even when I'm not posting things to Twitter. I always go on, you know what I mean? I always lurk. I always keep an eye on everybody's art, and I always make sure I can get to anyone's defense. Looks like I was just told I would be the only person trusted to handle Regina. That's a great honor. Although that intimidates me because she's an awesome character that I haven't quite ever thought of one like her at all. You know what I mean? She's such a unique idea to me that it sometimes she intimidates me as a character because I'm like, what would Regina do? Yeah. But the more I work with her, the more, you know what I mean? The more it's like, her character screams out to you when you just pay attention. You know what I mean? She's one. That's why I feel she's such a great hit with the community, because on her own, on the surface, she's just a great character visually. But as you actually deconstruct her, you're like, wow, dude. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, all right, that's star quality. That can be a little intimidating to be in charge of. But you know, like I was saying, I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate the love so much. If you go back to my channel and you watch the very first video I put up at the very end, you know, I mentioned that you guys brought great joy to a lonely, bitter person, and that I eternally thank everybody, because these things really just don't happen to me. I'm not that guy, and I'm Mr. Bad Luck, and I work really hard. And so it's good to see like great feedback. You know what I mean? Yeah. So thank you to everybody. That I get humbled when this many people appreciate me.
Lady Hawk says we want a Rags parody after the original comic is done, but by I'm guessing by Mistah Mahvel. That would be.
You want me to parody Rags? Oh, that would be too easy. It would just be her punching everybody. Like, you just walk in the room and knock everyone out. Like, she wouldn't have a chance to shoot because she's just like one punch everyone. And, you know, I mean, no, I don't know. She's hard to parody. She's hard to. I don't know how I would parody her just yet. I'd have to learn her more as who she is to find the funny thing to make fun of. Because that's how you parody. You find that one thing that strikes out that you're like, gotcha. You know what I mean? With, you know, and that's that. If you look at Juan, the visual parody with Juanpool, and you know that, I think it looks much better on him, and that's my opinion.
Yeah. So something I want to reflect on that you just said, as you were talking about, you know, your process and your appreciation for people in the community. You have the exact right attitude that I think an artist and a writer should be having if their focus is creating. If their focus is a club, then, you know, you can say, oh, you didn't get my fails or something. You are, I could have sworn you must secretly be like a cartoon Great Dane for a bit when you were talking about art styles, because it's like you vocalized something I've been trying to vocalize, but I've had difficulty is, you know, I appreciate all levels of art. So, you know, isn't it inconsistent for me to roast, you know, professional Marvel artists for what I'd see as unprofessional art, but really appreciate all levels of art in, you know, the artistic community and on Twitter? And what I've kind of concluded is that, you know, the professional level is a little bit of a different ball game, because I'm purchasing a product at a premium price. So I'm giving consumer feedback. But I think the attitude of looking at all kinds of styles of art and appreciating them is really important, because that's how you're gleaning information from all of these types of artists. And when you said you don't see, I'm trying to remember, you don't see levels of professionalism, you see levels of success. And I think that's something that you clicked with me. I'm sure, you know, people who want to create in the audience, they're clicking with that. You see, you know, up and coming artists as people with the potential to create something that goes beyond what we would expect, especially in this age where they can share it and people can, you know, access it anywhere across the country.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And I think that it's really important to stay a tight knit community of creators. You know what I mean? That's why I also hashtag out the creators supporting creators. Oftentimes what I do with the money I make from commissions is a certain amount of it goes back to commissioning other artists. You know what I mean? Almost like generating a creator economy. You know what I mean? If the big fish can eat You know what I mean? The shark will get that big fish. Let me eat it in the way that I shred it down to the smaller fish, and they eat that. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense. Damn, that sounded arrogant. Sorry, guys.
I think I get your point.
You see the analogy. You know what I mean? Like, so if I'm going to get a nice price because I did a big, huge cover for somebody, I'm going to take some of that and go down to, like, more of the up-and-comers. You know what I mean? And be like, oh, draw me Juanpool. I just need, you know what I mean? And also because I love Juanpool fan art. So when I'm jonesing, I'll just go pay something. If no one want to make me no fan art, I'll just pay for some.
You all do it. I'll start the hashtag. Everyone in the chat, let's draw Juanpool for our boy Mistah Mahvel to build up towards the release of Juanpool #1. Now, I saw you did this in the chat, so we should probably mention this too for people just watching the video. Rax the Hero asked you, when can we expect Juanpool to drop for purchase? And you say by the end of the month. So that we're in crunch time. We can expect to see something pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, if not by the end of the month, early next. You know what I mean? I don't even want to put a date because my own life, my personal life can give me a setback. So there might be a day I sit there and I bang out 2 more pages, full done. But then it takes me 3 days to finish 1 page. You know what I mean? I've got a great flow and I'm pretty quick producing, but I still have a daytime job for now. So that takes into play. I'm a dad. And a very much still in the picture dad, you know. So that comes into play. I'm not, I keep saying it, I love to say it, I'm no spring chicken. So I can't stay up like I used to. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. But I mean, it is what it is. And I'm working my little tail off, and like I said, hopefully by the end of this month. It's still kind of early in this month. For me, production-wise, I know I have the potential to pull this off. It's just on whether I can get that right focus at the right time. Plus, I got caught on one section that it's really important and powerful. You know what I mean? So I had to stop and put that into it. You know what I mean? And that's basically the part that involves the source. That one was quite it. You know what I mean? I think it might even page-wise be the longest act in this issue. Yeah, but I mean, hopefully by the end of the month, I want to get this out digitally. Then the next step is, possibly funding for the paper print. And then at that point, my long-term goal is to actually set up funding for issue 2 to be done officially and correctly and professionally. You know what I mean? I would love to be able to hire a team to work this with me. You know what I mean? To give my story paneling to an actual writer. You know what I mean? Work with someone that can get me those pencils out. I would probably just ink, so that it has that feel to it. Mm-hmm. That Mistah Mahvel look. It's all in the inks. Trust me. Send me pencils, and I'll make it look like I drew it with my inks. It's all in my ink technique. And then I would like to get someone to give it proper comic book colors, because I do more like vector art colors, which are cool. But I mean, I desperately want to see Juanpool colored like a comic book, and I even already have the person in mind and picked, and hopefully they agree to the job, and I can pay them fairly as an incentive. You know what I mean? Because I would love to. I would love to make making comic books my job. I think I make better comic books than I tattoo, and I've been tattooing for 10 years, so obviously I had to be good enough at it. You know what I mean? But I think my strength artistically is like comic book stuff, and I would much rather start working on a team. That way I could lend myself onto other projects personally. You know what I mean?
Right.
and, you know, hopefully make this a real income. And, you know, I'm you know, setting up t-shirts, you know, merch shops and all that good swag. It's tough because I don't really, you know what I mean? I'm just starting to learn how an artist supports himself online these days. I kind of wish I knew years ago. I would have done this a while back, but I'm here now.
Let's call attention to some of this. You've got TeePublic. You're on DeviantArt. You're on Twitter. But TeePublic is one way that people can, you know, buy a Juanpool shirt. You've got one that's the logo and Juanpool, one that's just the logo. You've got one for Juanpool's spouse. You want to tell us?
I got a design. I just got to publish it. I also have the Radical Nemesis ask me about my bleep load agenda. Well, I mean, my bleep post agenda, and I should be activating that. I got a couple of different things to throw up there. I also I'd like to really get everybody kind of using that "Make Comics Great Again" hashtag. I've always thought that to be the more proper hashtag that I use.
Better than Comicsgate, yeah.
I mean, I like Comicsgate, but it lends itself out to too many people. You know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, things with the Comicsgate attached spiral out of control. You know what I mean? And it just becomes this controversy.
Right.
And even though Comicsgate isn't at fault, they always get it. You know what I mean? It's even with the whole Zoe Quinn being added to
DC Vertigo.
This one, yeah. Well, that's the big guns. They ain't playing no more. They just brought out a big gun. That's a sign. That's figuratively saying, all right, we're done playing games. We've just brought out Zoe Quinn.
Right. She
can demolish anybody and turn them into the enemy. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're planning on doing. They're going to unleash her out because she already has the media ability to tarnish and smear someone and destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's why everybody keeps telling Zach, yo, chill, bro. Chill, bro. You know what I mean? Chill. Like, we know you got this, but in a way, bro, she's custom designed to just shut someone down.
Mm. Because of her connections with YouTube. Like, if you type Zoe Quinn into your YouTube title, they won't monetize it. It's like she's an unspeakable topic based on her connections. Yeah.
Yes. So, this is a Titan. A Titan just rolls onto the battlefield, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? This ain't no normal enemy unit. This is a tier 3. You know what I mean? This is the big guns. That's what I saw, at least. At the existential level, I saw it as they ain't playing anymore. You know what I mean? They brought out a person destroyer. This lady can destroy you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're gearing her up for. Yeah, that's bait. She's dangling her. They're dangling her as bait. And I mean, I was gonna do a video on it, and I was like, you know what? Nah. I'm good. Enough people have mentioned it. You know what? I'm gonna go to my car and make a comic book, kid. That's what I'm gonna do.
And at this point, that's more important than just Zoe Quinn's at DC. You making a book is a bigger contribution than that. I appreciate the value of videos discussing the state of the industry, because I think we need to have that to know what's going on. But at the end of the day, creating something does more, because that puts something into the hands of the normie, the person who does not give two hoots about politics. You know, they actively avoid politics. Juanpool is something bigger to them than the entire YouTube community commenting on politics and comics could be, because you've now given them a story that they can resonate with. And that's where I think that the guns will start to come out, is when they start, because success is the best revenge. people who are, if SJWs could just say, well, if you live and let live, if they would just let you succeed and me succeed and diversity in comics succeed, this wouldn't be a culture war. But I think the cancellation of Jawbreakers by Antarctic Press, for me at least, that was the point where I said, okay, what this indicates is if someone like you or me, if we start to succeed and they notice our success, then they're going to notice, oh, well, we've made an inappropriate joke on the internet. We have subscribed, we've liked, commented, and subscribed to the Diversity in Comics channel. So we'd be persona non grata. And if they see things like that succeeding, they see that as a rejection of their ideology and a cultural battlefield. So I can tell from the way you've talked about it that you're kind of prepping yourself for the potential of people coming after you on Juanpool because they don't like your internet personality or how you conduct, or what you said on Twitter. But I think that the success, I just want to underscore here that I think the success of a comic like Juanpool can't be understated, because then it's not just Jawbreakers and it's not just Cyberfrogs. It gets bigger with every success. Cyberfrogs, Jawbreakers, Jack Irons, Ravage, Kill All Men, Juanpool. Then I want my comic in there. And then I just want to see more and more and more success coming out of this community so that it becomes clear to people that we don't have to like bow the knee to just this toxic environment. We are allowed to create and imagine things.
Yeah. And we really should be. And it's sad that my best shot at this is just working like an a-hole behind the scenes and not like I thought of funds, but I also feel like in a way I don't want to draw too much attention to him. I'd rather get the small cult start off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Build the loyal following. Because I can easily get taken down for one. He's gay. You know what I mean? He's a bisexual man.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know how identity politics go, and I can easily be smeared as a homophobe if they feel I'm making fun of homosexuality. So it's kind of difficult to write. It's more difficult than I thought. I thought it would be difficult to write a gay character. You know what I mean? Just because like. Like I don't really want to draw a gay character. I don't know. That's not what I wanted to do. And I'm just being real. It's like, well, I didn't really want to draw a fat bisexual character. I got this cool chick, man. She's in the cyber world. But I don't know. I also feel that Juanpool hopefully can also get a protected status. Because I'm straight ready for anybody that says this needs to stop. Why? Can you not handle a gay character as a lead? Why? Can a Hispanic not be the main superhero in his own comic? You know what I mean? He's also built with his own defense systems. You know what I mean? Like, why? You have a problem with a body positive bisexual Hispanic male? You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you? You're the bigot. Clearly, you're the bigot. Maybe you need to open up your mind. Maybe it's because you're afraid of a bisexual lead. You know what I mean? I can play the game right back at them.
Yeah.
Actually, I love going SJW on SJWs. It's quite fun. Like, if you get involved with them, just bring it back at them in the way they do it. I don't mean give them hard facts. We can all do that. But what does that do? Nothing. Have fun. Go at them. Get to them with their own stuff. Because they leave themselves open always.
And just creating a human character, I think that's what's going to resonate with people. I mean, people who have an agenda and want to go after you, they're always going to find the excuse to go after you and say, you're problematic. But by creating a human character that people resonate with, that's what communicates to people strongly that you're a passionate person, that you are creating something of value to other people, even if it's comedy and it's got this sort of silly cartoon aspect to it. You're resonating with kind of a powerful human idea of the need to create and the need to like struggle and live. There's soul to how you describe your work. So I have no problem seeing Juanpool resonate with all kinds of people across the political spectrum because of that. And really, I think with the support of people in this community who just appreciate good stories, who appreciate fun, heroic characters, or characters who struggle, that you're gonna have people in your camp that want to see this succeed. And I want to see you making, like Zach level shekels. I want to see him like showing up on your live streams to give you some shekels. You're doing so good because success is what we need to build the creators helping creators, right? Artists helping artists, artists supporting artists. Yeah, that any success, we don't have to look at it as, oh, well, that person in Comicsgate succeed. Why did they succeed and I didn't succeed? We have to look at each other's success as opportunities for us to tap into similar markets and to resonate with one another and support each other's work. And just appreciating another artist's work helps you as an artist. You express so enthusiastically your appreciation for other artists. And that's why I'm excited to read Juanpool soon, because I know a passionate artist when I hear them talking about their art. And I know that I'm going to draw inspiration from that.
Good. I hope to inspire. I hope to inspire. And like I said, my DM's always open. I love to give out some advice. I love to talk with people. You know what I mean? If you want to get a critique and you're embarrassed to ask in public, DM me. I do it a lot. You'd be surprised how many people DM me stuff and ask for critiques and pointers. I have no problem with that stuff. I'm not greedy with my art skills. I'm not greedy at all. This is what I do and what I've always done. If it were identity politics, I have to identify as artist. You know what I mean? Well, I'm artist sexual. That's all. And that's it. I'm down. I want to see this. I want to see things get back to a good place, and I'm actually at peace with saying, I really don't care to save the big industry companies. I don't care. I don't care. I have my memories. I have old books still, you know what I mean? This is the information age. You can always, it might stink, but you can find the digital copies of older comics. You know what I mean? I'm at peace with moving forward, making new universes, making new characters, and starting it from scratch. You know what I mean? So that 60, 70 years from now, Juanpool has been swapped out for a hot blonde woman, and people are outraged. How dare you? How dare put back our big fat guy? How dare you gender swap him out? Because then it would be the opposite. You know what I mean? The opposite culture shock, and you know what I mean? Because they always back and forth it. So I would assume by then it would just be like once again extreme conservatives with no, we're gonna put the hot big boob blonde haired girl in the Juanpool suit, and you ain't gonna stop us. You know what I mean? And it would be the real fan saying, no, if that ain't a fat, hairy Mexican dude, I don't want it. You know what I mean? That they get upset because, he said, I don't want to make America great again. You know what I mean? In a comic, and everybody's like, did you just have Juanpool say he won't make America great again? Like, oh no, that's it. That's what I want to leave on the legacy, and not just me, not just Juanpool, all our characters. What the comic book readers of 50, 60 years from now deserve is to fight on their version of social media over how people are misusing the characters we gave them now.
Let's to put this in a time capsule and come back for Comicsgate 2070 and see if we're
basically. I want to hear people. They're mad because now it's Cyber Salamander, and they're like, "What? Excuse me? Uncle Ethan is rolling in here." You know what I mean? Like old man Uncle Ethan's being paraded out on that version of Twitter. Still, you know what I mean? That's what I want. I want that future generation to be pissed off fighting to save our comics.
Yeah, creation matters. Yeah, and you created something that's going to transcend the politics of current year. this is a character who is fun to look at today. He's going to be fun to look at a few years from now. He'll be fun to look at when we're not talking about Gamergate or he'll outlast Twitter. Twitter's going to have its heat death, but a character like Juanpool that you bring into the world with this much passion, that's gonna carry forward. And maybe you won't ever reach like I don't know, like Superman or Spider-Man movie level money, but it doesn't need to, because a idea that clicks with people, if it emotionally clicks with people, that's the value of the art as I see it. And that as long as artists like you have opportunities to create that and share that online, yeah, the company politics aspect becomes less and less important as we have the opportunity to say, here's our story, gang. Dope.
Right. And I wish everyone luck and everyone Godspeed as well. Because now's the time to be great too. You know what I mean? People are dying for a better option. You know, everything is kind of crapped out now. You can't escape agenda. You can't escape propaganda. And I think everybody on both sides is tired of that. And we got a chance to give them something to look at instead. You know, something that is creator owned, you know, will always keep the integrity of the character. You know what I mean? That will be something through and through, so people can get back to enjoying and collecting. Because that's another part of the hobby, the collecting. Who wants to collect this crap? Yeah. Unless you're doing it ironically. Because I mean, I got the first few issues of America, Gabby's America, because I was like, this is gonna be worth something ironically later. It is such garbage. You know what I mean? That I must have this. Like I'm even thinking of finding out if she ever has like a book signing, putting all my piercings back in my face, and going in disguise as an SJW and be like, Gabby, I really love this one. Can you sign it? And like, oh man, can you sign it to your biggest Latinx fan? Because that's gonna be awesome. You know, that's gonna be awesome.
Do it on the 4chan issue or the Splato Delgato issue.
Exactly. I would love number one. I'm a stickler for signed number ones. I love signed number ones. I love signed number ones, and I have me in America number one that I'm actually very protective over. Ironically, like, don't touch my garbage. This isn't trash. This is a sculpture. Okay, this is modern art. I know it looks like feces, but I paid money for this feces, so you don't ruin my feces, because it's gonna be worth something because it was made by a feces creator. You know what I mean? So yeah, but you know what I mean? Who? I even feel bad for the guys that collect obsessively because they have to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you know, they're getting killed with all these constant renumberings or bringbacks or the new number ones, these special issues or tie-ins, and it's like, man, you're killing people. You're killing people, and you're killing shops. But hopefully, like I said, if we're all, you know, doing this ourselves, you get to just have your publisher of choice shipped to stores, hopefully. And be like, that, you know what I mean? And that's it. You're just going to get a box, and it's going to have however many you ordered. And that's
Jorge, it. Jorge Zarada asked a question to the chat, which I think might be a good one for you to tackle. What are your top 3 influences?
Artistic?
I think so, artistic influences.
Todd McFarlane, number 1. I love his stuff. I loved Spawn. If you look at the way I ink, I kind of try to emulate his style a bit, with the heavy black contrasts. You know what I mean? I love his style. Greg Capullo. And Tex Avery.
Awesome. So, okay. Tex Avery, you know what I mean? That's making some sense of the Juanpool cartoony aspect now. There we go.
Yeah, you know, like, think of Screwball Squirrel. You remember Screwball Squirrel. You know, he was, like, more violent than Bugs Bunny. Uh-huh. Like, you had to be careful around Screwball Squirrel because, like, he was, like, insane and violent. And I love that stuff. Like, it was really nutty. The way he drew women. I mean, his cartoon women were better than some realistically drawn women.
Yeah.
And the way he animated them and the way he made them move, you know what I mean? Even as a small boy, I was never enchanted. Yeah, obviously it was like, oh, well, what's going on in my baby shorts? But it was like, dude, I'm entranced with how she dances.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you felt you were watching that dance. You were the wolf in the audience watching that girl sing to you. You know what I mean? And just his adventures were always like zany, but well written zany. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they had a good punch, but you enjoyed reading it more than the laughter. Because that build up to the laughter was just as much part of the joke as, you know, where the Looney Tunes, it was a lot of visuals.
Yeah.
That would build up. And then a punchline, then a spoken punchline comes in. But I love that stuff. I mean, if I'm even allowed one more, I may even say Walt Disney. Out of just his legacy and what he created out of just being brutal. I know that sounds messed up, but I look up to that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he was an art dictator. He was like art Hitler. You know what I mean? And he didn't care.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And he, even though it hurts the stories I love, I have this like bastardized respect for the fact that posthumously he still owns Mickey Mouse. That is his. And all he has to do is make sure he puts him on a sticker once a year. You know what I mean? And he changed it. Like Superman and Batman should have been public domain in 2014 and 2015, respectively. You know, think of that. Really think of that. Superman should be public. Anybody should be able to make Superman right now.
Right.
I should be able to draw a Superman. In fact, I would love to be able to do a Batman. And Walt Disney changed that. And even though it makes me mad because I can't do a Batman, gosh, it's like, wow, dude. Wow. Wow. You are the ultimate pissed off starving artist on Twitter. You know what I mean? I believe that looks like mine. If you don't take it down, you know what I mean? Like, wow, Walt Disney he gave 0 Fs. And he conquered.
Cold hard business acumen. And in his day, the idea of, hey, let's draw pictures and put them on film, and people will be fascinated by these moving cartoons. That was like the business frontier of his day. And the business frontier of our day is this opportunity to let anyone on planet Earth see your work and support your work. And that you're tapping into that with that kind of hungry artist mentality.
Yeah. I'm starving. I'm starving. Quite literally. I probably lost about 20 pounds in the last 4 or 5 months, but that actually has a lot to do too with I've been going to the gym a lot lately to, you know, get out aggressions and whatnot, and it's also good for your health to exercise. Yeah, I'm starving. I need this. This is a time in my life where, you know, kind of not the greatest of things are happening in my personal life. But the silver lining is I have the ability to fail. I have the ability to try my hardest on this and fail, and it won't affect me. And that actually gives you a lot of courage. Once you accept it, well, if it fails, who cares? I put out a comic. You know what I mean? And if it never goes past issue 1, whatever, I have a comic. I made a comic. I can tell people I made a comic.
The life aspect of completing this story and this character is more important than financial success. If financial success comes for you, that's great. That's a bonus. But you have a story to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they give me enough trouble, I'll put out Juanpool 1 for free to motivate people to help me fund number 2.
Well, I'm going to be in your camp, helping to move the needle for Juanpool 1, for Juanpool 2. I hope to be one of the first comics YouTubers to be reviewing Juanpool 1 when it comes out. And
you want to hear a secret, though? I still don't have a cover. I haven't designed a cover. I have not designed a cover. I don't know. I'm intimidated. Like, I've done other people's covers, and I'm like, whatever, cake. But now it's like, oh, no, this is my cover. I wish I could hire Mistah Mahvel. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, well, what do I do for mine? But I mean, I got a little idea, and hopefully I pull it off the way I'm seeing it in my head.
All right. Are you sketching? Are you sketching out different like angles on the same idea, kind of like that how to draw comics the Marvel way pattern for designing a cover?
No, I'm obsessive compulsive. I have one idea, and I'm gonna keep trying it until it works.
Okay.
That's kind of how I do my art. I obsess over the one idea I got, or I should say, the best idea I got. Once I come to that, this is what's happening. I will just stop everything until it works the way it needs to work, because that's it. That's the best idea. I can't get away. No, this has to happen because it's the best idea. That was that has happened like this, bro. Oh my god. Then it's happening. And sometimes that hurts my production schedule, because if you get to that one page and you're like, no, this has to look the way I see it in my head, you get stuck. You do get stuck.
It's pursuing a picture within your mind, and then you're approaching it and maybe like trying and retrying it. This reminds me of Tolkien. Tolkien famously, you know, like he wrote like a good chunk of a novel, and then he'd scrap it, and then he'd start over from the beginning with what he learned from the first chunk of it. So he'd have these whole like 300-page drafts of alternate versions of his books. You're kind of doing that with your cover.
Yeah. In fact, it's even worse. I'm one of those, I throw it out if I hate it. I have one file open for his cover. I'll try the concept. If I don't like it, I delete it. And I just keep going. And I've been doing that about 4 or 5 times. And I'm obsessed with making it. It has to, like, I know my cover. And I got to pull it off. And I know I got it in me. It's just got to be on one of those days where I just feel it. You know what I mean? And I know what's coming. I can feel it cooking up. It's going to be one of those days where it's like, oh yeah, I know their way. You know, that's what I need. I need a know their way day.
You triggered my inner art historian a little bit, because I like to see the struggle and the failure before the final image emerges. So I was like, oh no, it's like Leonardo da Vinci. He's throwing out his drawings. Why is he doing that? But I get that vibe of, if you hate it, you want it out of your mental space because
if not, I'll go back to it. And if it failed the first time, it's because it's not going to work. But if it's there, I'll go back to it and keep failing on it. If I get rid of it visually, I'm forced to move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a discipline thing. I do it out of a self-discipline, because if I keep a file, I'm going to go back to it.
Okay.
So it's more of a, that's a failure and you failed. Go. I'm very hard on myself as an artist. I'm not friendly to me. I don't want to work for me. You know what I mean? I wish that me treated me the way that I treat other people that I work with. You know what I mean? I'm usually a pretty cool team player, and I love to, help out and take every role I can. But when it's with me, I'm a very, very, I am very hard to work for myself, because I hold myself to a very high standard. And just know, anytime I post anything to Twitter, it is very rarely the first shot. You know what I mean? I'm very, very particular. Although these days I'm getting better at just getting right to what I want to get. But that's mostly because I'm doing like the promotional stuff. But handling a page can be a pain when you're like, no, it has to look like this. No, this all has to fit into a panel, because I believe in the way they used to do it in the 90s, where you put, where what they now make like a 2-page splash can fit in a panel. You know what I mean? And that's how I panel. I like to get the most out of each box. So that can get tough, because I very rarely want to just do a color as the background and nothing else. I need you to see the objects around this person. I don't know. That's just me visually.
I saw this reference in a tweet where you said you draw lots of details that may not even be shown in the panel, because you're trying to add some authenticity to it. So digitally, this might get drawn in another layer, and then the gutter in the panel box covers it up and hides it. It's even worse. It's even more frustrating. This got
this wasn't even made as a separate layer. This was made as a separate file altogether, full size, completely done. And then I imported it and used a corner of it because that's all you'd see. Okay. But I needed it to be authentic. I needed it to flow into something authentic. And then, like you've seen, I also get to share that art. You know what I mean? So it's a twofold. And I don't know, it just makes everything look cleaner. In that first 5 pages, when you see all like the comment squares coming up and the chat squares and everything in the screen, those are all complete files. You know what I mean? I hand typed out all those responses myself and imported them into another file and made them part of the page. You know what I mean? There's a lot of work into Juanpool. And that's why it's taken me so long, because I'm not just slapping together a story about prostitute Snoopy in 6 convenient boxes on the page. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of effort. And I'm trying to hide in Easter eggs too, and character references. So, you know, keep an eye out for the details, because I'm trying to hide in some Easter eggs.
Cool. Do some Easter egg hunting. I have a question about your approach to drawing. So when I look at your line work, I kind of describe it as, you know, angular and solid. It's like I can see the geometry even in your profile picture of yourself. And even though Juanpool is kind of a rounder character, he doesn't quite have that kind of angular, bony edge to him. There's a lot of solidity in his line weight. So you've mentioned that for you, it's all in the ink. So if I sent you like one of my pencils, you'd make it look like one of your drawings through the inking process. And you've mentioned kind of the use of digital tools for vectoring, using vector shading. So would you kind of describe yourself as someone who has very much a focus on the finished line work and color, as opposed to maybe like the sketch layer?
Oh, the sketch layer is tossed. I make crisp lines as a separate layer over my pencils. Mm-hmm. The sketch is gone. I don't want it to look like that. I need the crisp. And that has a lot to do with my tattoo influence. You know what I mean? Strong line work makes the piece better. That's one of my personal philosophies. That's one of my theories. The strong, solid line work visually stands out more. You don't see no chop offs. There's no cross section of lines. You know what I mean? The elbow flows into the forearm, flows into the hand, flows into the finger, comes back around, comes up the arm, flows right into his man pec, flows down. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's crisp, there's complete. That's just me. That's how I've always done it. And just the tattooing solidified it. Because it's weird to explain, but I line like I'm still tattooing. Like my line work that I do digitally with a stylus, I do it as if I'm still doing a tattoo with that focus. You know what I mean? The great part is I can erase. I can take a step back. I don't need to bang the line on the first try. And I never, you know what I mean? If I do a line and I don't like it, I go back. You know, at any given time, if I'm like at a certain point through it and I see a part I don't like, I just instantly go, I erase, and I start to fix it. And I keep doing that until it's done. And I keep editing and fixing and fixing and editing and fixing and trying to get every line perfect and straight. And then I try to get some lines that look kind of flawed, that give it the sense of the hand-drawn swipe of just those little lines. You know what I mean? I put a lot of effort into I only care about the final product. Okay. I only care about what you guys are going to see. That's the only thing I care. If you break down one of my files, there's anywhere from 15 to 27 layers. Huh. And there would be more, but I'd have to lower the DPI, and it wouldn't be as crisp a quality. So there's a lot of times where I'll start merging things out of necessity. Yeah. Like, let's say to pull off his skin takes me 5 layers. Eventually, I'm just going to merge them together once I'm satisfied. And then at that point, I'll edit them as one complete layer using all the different color blends together separately in that layer to fix it by the very end. But everything has to be a separate layer. Everything has to be able to go back and recover. There's a lot of times where I'll duplicate a layer just to experiment with it. And if I like it, I get rid of the original. Sometimes I'll save the original. And yeah, I have a bit of I have a very, very calculated style in how I do things. It's probably why I pull things off so quick, because most things I have are already organized into a system of how I'm going to do them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's interesting, because as you describe it, it sounds very technical. Like, I'm almost a traditional purist who will use digital kind of either out of necessity or just for a few very specific things. So to me, it sounds like you're describing this very meticulous kind of line by line, pen tool process. But because you've sort of regimented your style into these steps, you can therefore complete it quickly, because it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. You know the direction you're going.
Exactly. When I do a page, I finish the page. I didn't ink this all out. I mean, I didn't pencil this all out, then ink it all out. No, every page I've done has been completed as a page. I go in, I panel it out, I pencil it, I ink it, I color it, I letter it, I add the effects. It's done. And that's how I produce Juanpool. Each page is completed before I do the next page.
Do you have a traditional background, or have you completely transitioned to digital work?
At this point, I've completely transitioned, only because, I mean, for me personally, for career-wise and everything, the digital lets me do it on the go. I don't have to have an art studio. I don't have to have my light box. I still have all that stuff, but also too, it has a lot to do with I don't have a proper space to set up a traditional setup. Some of my older tutorials, I loved, and I even mentioned it, I love to do things traditionally. These days, I would be nowhere near finished with Juanpool if I did this traditionally. And it's, when you see the finished product, man, it's clean. Marm, it's clean, man. It's clean. This digital, man, it's clean, bro. It's clean. Like, I was dead set against it for a long time, but I've never seen my art look so good, man. Like, seriously, like, probably because it's already getting late. I might have to jump off soon, actually, now that I've got time. Tomorrow, remind me, and I'll send you the traditional version of Juanpool versus the digital version. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, I get it. You know what I mean? It's so much vibrant. It's so much, my blacks are blacker as far as my inks. My colors pop. There's no bleed. You know what I mean? If I didn't like this layer, I change it. I edit it until it all looks good. You know what I mean? And it just gives you this full control over the final product. But because, I mean, it's digital, but I'm hand digital. You know what I mean? Everything's with a stylus. There's flaws. You still see my flaws. And there's certain flaws I just leave for the sake of authenticity. Like my panels, the boxes, they're not completely crisp, squared off. I drew them out by hand with the pencil so that they, you know what I mean? So that they have the look of someone that just put down a ruler and banged it out with a marker. Yeah. So that there's still some kind of sense of traditionalism. It's just I have to pull it off digitally now, which is still in itself pretty cool. I keep feeling like I want to do tutorials on how to make your digital look traditional. But like I said, everyone's gonna, I'm hoping everyone is gonna really love it. And real quick, let me tell Fat Panther, Little Miss Mahvel is dear. She is super smart. She's super big now. She's starting to talk differently. She gathers her words better, and she's a great kid, and I love her, and she's a great motivation too. Because also deep down, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool for my daughter to tell people, yeah, that's what your dad does? My dad made a little comic called Juanpool. You know what I mean? I want her to have that. That would be pretty cool for her to be like, oh, I have to take a week off from school. Why? Oh, I got to go to a Comic-Con with dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. That would be pretty awesome.
Juanpool lives for Little Mistah Mahvel.
Yeah, I keep him 100% away from her.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have that influence?
I don't, the thing is, I just don't, I don't know, it's one of those comics that, this is better off dad stuff. I have other things that we draw together, and we have, when I work with, like, she likes to sit and draw little mini comics with me.
Oh boy.
We do her little characters. We do her little characters. You know what I mean? That's what she likes. You know how I'll do like animated gifs of Juanpool?
Yeah.
I'll do a little one for her of her character to make her happy. You know what I mean? And that's way more fun. Juanpool is my thing. When I do comic stuff with her, I want it to always be her thing, so she feels that sense of accomplishment and success in her creation.
That is
as opposed to, oh, I just helped dad do his thing. It's more like dad helped me do my thing.
So I get the idea of keeping kind of your professional superhero comic, out of your art time with your daughter. But I am so clicking with the idea of, drawing with a young person and, listening to a young person talk about their characters. Really, I'm an art tutor, so this is something that changed the way I looked at storytelling entirely, because kids will just come up with this really raw, funny stuff. It breaks the rules of storytelling, but it's direct. And if you can have that sort of spark in your own work, you've talked about your very rigorous process. So it's not, your process isn't comparable to the way a little child draws, but a little child's energy and for creativity, that clearly has carried over into the adult Mistah Mahvel's world.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in a way, I'm still, a certain portion of my creativity never grew up, and I appreciate it. I still have the ability to think on the whimsical. You know what I mean? I still like magical storytelling. I know that sounds stupid, but like, I still like that stuff. I never got past that, and I'm glad. You know what I mean? It lets me get a lot of good ideas. One of my biggest setbacks is I get too many ideas. And then I have to see them done. You know what I mean? And that can get me in some trouble, because if I have too many ideas going on at the same time, I get all overwhelmed. But I do have to get, oh man, it got late on my end.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No. This was great. This was everything I was looking forward to and more, my friend. And thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. And let me throw an idea at you, just for you to chew on. After Juanpool 1 and Juanpool 2, maybe think about a Mahvel father and daughter compilation thing, because I would move the needle for that. If she's creating these characters, and you think that's something that the world would appreciate, because boy, I'm just now seeing dynasty of Juanpool creativity, Mistah Mahvel creativity. That she'll be taking up the torch for future, because you're developing.
Well, I'll be honest. She wants to do a review of Teen Titans Go and tell everybody why she thinks it's the best cartoon about superheroes.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
I just haven't figured out the right avatar for her. You know what I mean? Because it's like, my avatars tend to be creepy and have the creepy Mistah Mahvel smile, and I want to make a really cute one that I can get the creepy smile on when she does her, hey, you know what I mean? Because she does the, hey, Mistah Mahvel. No, it was actually really touching. One morning I got up, and I came out, and when she saw me, she was like, hey, it's Mistah Mahvel. And she went back to doing like her little playing with her toys. And I was like, wow, she really listens to my stuff when I have it in the background. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because sometimes like I'll edit like dialogue if I know I haven't sworn for a while in the dialogue. And it's cool. It's cool. But guys, yes, I do got to take off because it's late and I actually got to get my butt driving home.
Get home, get some sleep. All of the links to Mistah Mahvel are in the description. Support this artist. We want to see you succeed, mate. And thank you. I think you have inspired the chat today.
Thank you so much, guys. You're the best. You're the greatest. You're only as good as the people that want to see you succeed. So if I'm any good, it's because you guys are. So thank you so much. And this has been an awesome night. Thank you so much, my friend. We must do this again sometime soon.
We will. That's a promise. All right. All right. I love you guys. Let's let Mr. Mahvel get some sleep. I love you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe here. Like, comment, and subscribe at Mistah Mahvel's channel to get updates, and follow him on Twitter. So we will catch you later.